name is Jacob Worth. I'm 19 years old from Cheshire, currently living in London. I've been fishing since I was 7 years old, but when I moved to London for a 3-year course in performing arts, my fishing time was limited. Well, at least I thought it was. This concrete jungle ignited a flame, and it saw me on the bank at every minute possible. I knew no one and nothing about what the city had to offer, which made it all the more exciting. Target fish. With nothing but an iPhone in hand, I managed to capture some incredible sessions and a summer of unforgettable memories. You gonna start fishing, buddy? He is. Welcome to my summer 2018 urban carping campaign. When I first moved to London, I didn't think it would be possible to fish in the city, so I left my rods at home and made trips back every few weeks to fish. I honestly didn't think there would be any opportunities, and having looked on YouTube, there were next to no videos of fishing, not possible by way of public transport anyway. I mean, of course I had a look at my local canal, but being gin clear and shallow, I assumed the fishing would be poor, so never got the drive to bring my gear down. Little did I know, a few stretches down had carp written all over it, and that was the moment it all changed. I stumbled across this spot when me and a few friends went for a walk and saw a big shoal of bream. They were clearly spawning, and I was taken by surprise to see such big fish in the heat of the city. I began visiting the spot after college in the evenings, putting a few handfuls of bait in each time. I also got chatting to some of the locals to hear that there were a good few carp too. Although I was busy with college, I just couldn't resist, so went back home to see my family for a few days and brought a few old rods down. I persuaded a friend of mine to come with me, and I remember it clearly, sitting by the bank showing him pictures of big carp and him saying, "There's nothing like that in here, it's a canal." Moments later my clutch was screaming, and that's where it all began. I just couldn't believe it, a £24 common being my PB at the time, followed by another fish of around £18. It was one of the best memories of my fishing life to date, and from that moment on, whenever I got some spare time, I was roaming the city in search of urban carp. The majority of my fishing in London has been on the canal, but I've fished numerous docks and park lakes with some great success. I set out with no assistance, no camera crew, very little knowledge, and a girlfriend that needed lots of persuading. But after how great the fishing has been and even the encouragement on my Instagram page, I just had to make this video. I hope you can take something from it and be inspired to get on the bank yourself. This fish was the reason I started the video. It was my first canal carp of the year at £20 on the nose. This being the same stretch that I caught my first London carp from the year before. I remember I was busy with college and didn't get the chance to fish until July, so I baited my spots weekly and pitched up for a few overnighters. It was tough going, but a week later I caught my second fish of the year. Apologies for the camera angle, guys. I'm on my own today, so I've had to prop my phone up on my bag. I've caught my second carp, just shy of £20. I'm absolutely buzzing with this fish. Proper dark, urban, common. Let's get him back. The key to carp fishing anywhere, be it lake, canal or river, is finding the fish. That's the key to success, and from there on it's just the bait, the fish being on the feed, and I guess the quality of the angler that determines the end result. I've spent a lot of time walking and watching the fish, not just finding them but discovering where they feel comfortable taking a bait and their feeding patterns. If I get this right, I can sit behind my rods feeling extra confident. I started getting through the blanks and steadily making my way through the group of fish that held up in the stretch. I started off casting, but due to heavy weed growth was granted use of a small boat from the locals. A few overnighters down the line and it all started to come together. There we are, guys. A bit lost for words. Fish number 3. Snuck over on the boat, dropped a few boilies in, got the rod back on top, and my mate Sam pulled me and the boat and the fish in from the rod on the bank. And it's a new PB for me. It's £25 on the dot, dark wood carving of a central London common. Let's get her back and then I'll show you what rigs I used to catch it. Right guys, So I've just put that carp back and then had that bream, and I've got back on the boat. Luckily I'm good friends with one of the locals who's got a little boat on the patch, and I've drifted back over to the swim where I just caught that carp, and I'm now going to put another bed of tiger nuts just to the edge of this boat. I already put quite a lot of bait in earlier, which I can actually see some still on the bottom, so I'm not going to feed too much. And I've got the rig here in my hand. There we go. Right, the rig's in. I'm going to head back to my rods and tighten up. Unfortunately, I lost a fish at around 7 the next morning due to a hook pull in the weed. But all was not lost, because shortly after, this happened.
Jacob, it is rain. It stinks.
There we are. How much that one weigh?
29.
£28. I lost one this morning, guys, at 7:30. And then this one came at 10:30. Getting the young anglers. You're going to start fishing, buddy? He is. Right, I'm going to get him back in, guys. £28, smashing. What a fish that was. Another PB and another target fish from this stretch had me buzzing and eager to get back. So I've just got back from my session on the canal and realised that I forgot to talk about rigs. So as far as it goes, this is the rig I've been using for 90% of my fishing, and it came from the simple yet effective blowback rig and has become my version of the D-rig. So it's a hand-tied D-rig, keeping the benefits of a blowback rig, using a bait screw instead of a hair, as I feel it's more flexible and makes changing the bait quicker. For me, it's perfect whether I'm fishing a lake, canal or even river. For example, if I'm fishing a big lake and I'm feeding over a large spot with a throwing stick, I would fish this rig on a pop-up. So the fish are moving around in the warmer months, picking off baits, and they'll come down, this will be slightly popped off the bottom and nailed. And I'll just put up the putty just underneath the hook on the supple piece of braid that I've stripped back, and that rig for me will work perfectly. If it's overly silty, I'll fish it on a helicopter, and if it's not, then I'll fish it on the standard leg clip. I can even advance the rig and attach the hook end to a stiff IQ2, making it into a combi rig. Another way of using this rig is when you're fishing a tight baited spot on a canal, for example, and the fish are really grubbing and churning up the bottom. In this instance, I would use a snowman or a wafter, as the hook end is critically balanced, but the coated braid won't kick up in the swim, as I use a small piece of putty to clamp it down to the lake bed. I tend to fish this rig on a leg clip setup, with dark matter tubing going down the main line, again to avoid fish coming into contact with the line. I use an 8-inch hook length with semi-stiff braid, as it's firm enough to avoid tangles, yet it lays flush over the contours of the lake bed. This rig has worked really well for me over the last year, and I'm confident that it's a rig I'll have in my armoury for life. I make trips to the spot a few times a week to enjoy the sun with the locals and of course get some baiting for my upcoming overnighters. I pre-baited 80% boilies to 20% tiger nuts, and it seemed to be the winning formula on this particular stretch. My advice as far as pre-baiting goes is just be different to the rest. Find spots you believe the carp feel unpressured, keep the bait going in little and often, and you won't go far wrong. It's not all about throwing tons and tons of bait in, and it's not always financially possible. Not for the majority of anglers anyway. I'd say over the month I used less than 5 kilos for both pre-baiting and my fishing. With that being said, a few weeks down the line I did my final 2 nights on here before moving on. The campaign certainly ended on a high, to say the least. I've had it on already for about 10 minutes. I've been able to quickly pick up my phone. This one does not want to come in. Come on, he's nearly ready now. Absolutely pristine fish in this clear water. It's been a productive morning. I'm gonna have to stop recording now because I need both hands to obviously net this fish. Just wanted to show you a bit of action. So guys, this is the fish that I had a few hours ago. I just waited for my mate Paul, thanks Paul, to arrive to take some pictures for me. So I've kept it in a sling probably going to be lively, but I'm hoping it stays calm for a few pictures. So after losing one last night, I think the line got stuck on a mussel or something on the bottom. I hit into the rod and it completely cut off, but I'm fishing free running rigs, so hopefully the fish won't be trailing any line or anything. This one came at 7:30 this morning and is still lively. Come on. So there we go. I think this is number 5 now of my campaign on this stretch of the canal. It's another lovely dark common. Just shy of £20 this one. I think this one's 18. I've had 2 fish now at this size and the rest have all been over 20. So you can't grumble at that. Let's get a few pictures and then get him back. There we are, guys. Minting brace of fish this morning. 2 fish within the space of an hour. This one being a £21 mirror. Near enough a leather carp. The other one being an £18 common. Lift them up for you. Best brace of fish I've ever had in my life. Proper canal warriors. Right, I'm on my own recording. I've got 2 mats out, so I'm going to get these fish back before they start causing a raucous and flapping. But what a seriously good session. After a busy few weeks, my next campaign saw me heading northeast London for a venue that needs no introduction, the famous Walthamstow Reservoirs. As far as fisheries go, it doesn't get much better. Vast wetlands rich in wildlife and right in the heat of the capital city. And most importantly, home to some incredible carp. £27. Change of scenery today, guys. I've been off the canals for a few weeks now with work, but last night I was on the train from Telford to London and I realised that it was the night session on Walthamstow. You're only allowed to night fish here once every 2 weeks. So I've got here just before the gates have closed and I've been rewarded with this £21 leather. Absolutely buzzing with this. Last minute session, a couple of handfuls of bait, and at a stunning venue like this is the reward that you can be walking away with. This fish was taken on the Lower Maynard Reservoir just before sunrise. Although I was happy, it wasn't the reason I was here. It was the copper mill stream that attracted me here in the first place. I remember on a visit to the venue standing over the bridge watching the fish eat baits freely, and since then I've been itching to get back. After fishing the lower overnight, as the sun was rising I made my way over to the stream, and it was clear to see the spot I'd baited the night before was of interest. I lowered the rigging, turned my back, and it must have been a matter of seconds before the clutch was racing off. Just had another one. Absolutely cracking fight. This one was taken from the Coppermill stream just behind me. What a minting common. Proper brick of a fish. Right, I'm going to get him back and then I'm going to pack up and go home. What a successful session. Well, at least that was the plan. But after seeing a few fish over the swim, I just couldn't resist. I quickly got my rod out, threw a few halved boilies in, and this happened. It's a nice big common in the swim. Just acting wary, but it keeps going close. He's got it. He's got it! And I'm in. The fish went tearing off downstream, but eventually I was able to gain line on him and get my phone out to record some action. Well, I said I was going home, but I got a few fish feeding on the stream again, on a little tiny gravel spot. I got about 5 fish feeding. A little common came and picked the bait up right in front of my eyes, spat it out, then this one came behind it. 27-pound common from Walthamstow Reservoirs on the Coppermill stream. One of the best fish I've ever caught, and to catch it from a little stream is just epic.
Nice one.
Let's get him back. Right, so I'm back on Coppermill. The following day after I had the few fish, I've had a walk from one end to the other, and the fish seem to be in the same spot as they were yesterday. I've trickled a few boilies in, and the fish have immediately come into the swim. So what I'm going to do is now just flick a few half boilies out, hopefully slightly spook the fish out the swim. I'm going to lower the rig in that little hole there and then keep out the way, and hopefully one's going to come. So I'm just throwing the, if you can see the clout there, so it's crystal clear water, so as you can see you really have got to stay out the way. Right, I'm going to stop recording, get the rod in, and then hopefully something's going to come over and have an investigate. It's going down. Oh, he's turned the wrong way. Come on. It's a nice common. Oh. It's like a nice common. What a result. Came on Walthamstow this morning, bang on 7 o'clock when the gate opened. I've been here less than half an hour and I've been rewarded with another banging Coppermill stream common. This one £20 on the nose. I tried to get a bit of footage of me actually hooking the fish because it took the bait in front of me. Because I'm on my own, obviously camera quality is not great. But what a brute of a fish. Absolute wood carving. Let's get it back. Hopefully we can catch another one. Check this one out, guys. £25 of Coppermill stream common. Fish number 2, only 2 hours into the session. Just unbelievable fishing. I'm not going to talk for too long because as I was unhooking this fish, there was a big mirror in my swim. It's been pestering me for the last 2 days and it just won't take the hook bait. So I'm going to slip this one back and hopefully get a mirror. Well, I don't think today could get much better really. Fish number 3, it's only 11 o'clock and it's a £19 mirror. It's not the bigger of the 2 mirrors that were feeding on the swim, but look at the quality of that fish. Turn it round and show you the other side. What more do you want? Central London, catching fish like this is just, it's next level. Let's get her back. Off to work. Brilliant. I actually managed to get down a few mornings later and was lucky enough to catch another £20 plus common, which ended my sessions on Walthamstow on a real high. Next year I'll sure be back to tackle some of the other reservoirs on this beautiful complex. The next and final part of my summer's fishing is a special one for me. It took me west to the far end of the canal onto a spot I'd caught a fish from the previous year. It was a magical stretch, and I was more than keen to tackle the wily carp that reside there. The canal was crystal clear like most places were that year, and with 4 to 6 resident fish in between 2 locks no more than 300 metres apart, it was a prime holding area. There was one in particular that I really wanted. It was a special one. Built like a car tyre, yet head so small. I'd seen the fish at the end of last year and early March of this year, and I was sure before winter came I'd give it my best shot at catching it. It was a cracking stretch full of naturals and plenty of hiding spots, so I had a feeling the fish had spent most of its life there and wasn't planning on moving anytime soon. It wasn't until a good friend of mine did a few sessions on the stretch and saw the big common that I really got the urge to go back. I made a few trips during mid-August, not fishing, just leaving a few handfuls of bait in each time, in hope the fish would gain confidence. After a few weeks had passed, I'd seen the fish on more than one occasion. Some days, I found myself sitting by the canal for hours, just watching the fish going about his business. But eventually, I felt it was time. I made a trip before and after work just to get a feel for it. I left a handful of bait just before dark in a spot I knew they always visited. After a 5 AM tube journey, I made it to the canal at 7 AM, just as the sun was rising. I walked alongside the canal, keeping my eyes open and for once, hoping to see nothing, in hope they'd be on the bait. Surprise, this wasn't the case. Around 50 yards from the lock, the fish appeared swimming alongside me, in the same direction, almost as if it were on the same mission. The water was gin clear, so it was a given she'd see me. At that point, I kind of gave up hope, but still, upping the pace, I got to the lock and quickly set up my rod. I sat down peering over the water. Within minutes, the fish swam right through the swim and began circling and picking up naturals off the bottom. Right guys, so I've arrived on my spot this morning. After pre-baiting last night, I arrived here and the bait was actually still on the bottom. But on my way from the station to this side of the stretch, I saw the big common that I'm after, and she was heading this way. So I'm guessing that the fish congregate at the other side of the stretch during the night time and then move down this way early morning, which I presumed anyway from fishing here a few times last year. A lot of the fish would be at this end first light. I've been here about 45 minutes now and I've seen the big common, and what she keeps doing is circling round here over and over again and just picking a few baits off. Well, not baits, sorry, naturals. I've actually put no bait in this area at all. So she's picking off naturals and she won't go near the baited spot further down. So what I'm going to do is, she's just drifted out the swim. So I'm just going to quickly show you my approach and my rig and then get it in, and hopefully on the way back through she'll fall for it. So I'm just going to throw a few half boilies in. She's probably seen boilies for years, so I feel like it's best just chucking halves and quarters in. Just a few, not many, because she'll know that this isn't how it looked when she came around half an hour ago. So you've got to keep it simple. As far as rig goes, using about an 8-inch hook length. Got a free running lead clip set up with a lead core just for that extra strength. I'm using semi-stiff coated braid and one of my favourite rigs, especially for spooky fish anyway. It's a little cell dumbbell pop-up on a blowback D-rig. I've used blowback rigs since I first started carp fishing about 5 years ago. But I wanted to make a D-rig out of the blowback, just so I can use wafters and pop-ups like this. As you can see, I've stripped back the braid underneath the shrink tubing, and that sits perfectly on the bottom like that, and it's worked well for me on a lot of places where the fish have seen it all before. So while the fish is out the swim, let me just slowly get this rig in, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, I can catch the big one first time. There's about 4 fish in this stretch, one that I've caught at 18 pounds last year, so I'm hoping that I can have one of the others. But to be honest with you, this morning I've only seen the big common which I'm not complaining about. If that's the one that I catch, I'll be absolutely made up. That will make my year. Let's just get this rig in. Slowly lower it in. So you can see it. There's a bit of a glare on the water, but I can see that's gone in perfectly. Now, another thing is making sure the line isn't in the swim. So what I do is I take the line this way, sink it dead to the bottom, and then just slack line to there. So yeah, I fish a slack line because I'm watching the bait anyway, and I just want that line to be dead across the bottom. I don't want the fish feeling the line and getting spooked. So yeah, now it's time to sit back, fingers crossed, fish I've been after slips up. Hook the big girl. She just came down over the bait. She's on. Oh my god, my heart is pounding. Snuck on last night. Dropped a handful of bait in over the spot. And I come on this morning before work. I just put a little dumbbell pop up right on the channel where she swims. And I was watching a video, one of Carl and Alex's videos, and I've got her on. Oh my god, I am shaking. Look at the size of that common. I have to put the phone down just while I net her. She's in the net. Oh my god, I'm absolutely buzzing. Well, there it is. Target fish. Canal banger. Definitely worth getting up at 5:30. Luckily, my mate Paul and Lewis have come down, so I'll be getting some pictures. Here's my mate Paul. What an absolute mega result. Right, let's get her back in. Shot. And that marks the end of my 2018 London carping campaign. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for future videos and check out my Instagram page. I hope I've inspired you to get on the bank yourself. Thanks for watching.